From ABC, this is a special edition of World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. At the beginning of this 8th day of the war, the Pentagon said that it was very satisfied. Saddam Hussein told the Iraqi people it's only a matter of time before the invaders leave. From Congress and the White House, again, some cautionary words that the country may well be in for a long campaign to get the Iraqis out of Kuwait. And in the battle itself, 51 Iraqis taken prisoner as a speck of Kuwaiti territory falls into Allied hands. We begin with a specific campaign to get at the 150,000 soldiers of the Republican Guard. Here's ABC's Bill Rediker.
The air campaign is beginning to shift gears. Navy pilots in the Gulf say they are deliberately concentrating now on isolating and weakening the Republican Guards.
Our target was a ammo dump, arms factory, and a Scud warhead site like you talked about.
Did you get it?
Pardon me?
Did you get it?
You bet.
We're hitting military targets, and we are not being restrained, and we're being allowed to pick those targets.
Aboard the aircraft carrier Ranger, clues to the next phase of the Allied campaign. Officers talked openly about isolating Iraqi troops in Kuwait and southern Iraq, targeting air and shore defenses in preparation for a possible marine amphibious assault.
We've also gone after naval bases and the naval ports up the river just south of Basra in a place called Qasir. And we have run the gamut of silkworm sites, which we are trying to take out because they could possibly threaten the ships that will ultimately end up in that area. And surface-to-air missile sites, ammunition storage, and those general military targets that you would want to eliminate before you put Marines or ground soldiers ashore to prosecute door-to-door fighting.
The Marines, who practiced an amphibious assault 2 months ago and were frustrated by bad weather, are again getting ready, staging an exercise in nearby Oman. 8,000 troops are involved.
The event is being conducted to give participating forces training in amphibious assault skills they will need if ordered to conduct operations in Iraq or Kuwait.
So far, ground operations have been hindered by winter weather. Marines moving toward the border have been bogged down by rain. Military sources say ground forces are hoping the air campaign will continue for at least a couple of more weeks. In the air, Allied forces had their most active day since the war began 8 days ago. 2,000 combat sorties were flown during the last 24 hours. The most impressive, an air-to-air engagement by a Saudi pilot who shot down 2 Iraqi warplanes that he said were armed with Exocet missiles and bombs.
The target is fast heading.
The Royal Saudi Air Force released gun sight pictures and an audio recording from the cockpit.
Roger, bandits, both target destroyed, both target destroyed.
Copy, both flags.
That's affirmative.
It was the first reported engagement by the tiny Saudi Air Force. The pilot credited his American-made fighter jet and a warning from a U.S. AWACS reconnaissance plane.
It was a very easy mission for me. You know, the F-15, nobody can beat it. I just rolled behind them and fight the Iraqis, then I have just to shoot.
Early this morning, U.S. Marines launched an artillery attack against Iraqis in Kuwait, hoping to knock out a multiple rocket launcher. They strike and retreat, not knowing if they hit their target.
It's like fighting somebody that's got a longer reach. Unless you close, get in there, and knock his socks off, he'll have the advantage.
Farther east on the coast, this town inside Kuwait was deserted. Evidence of fighting was everywhere. Earlier reports of a skirmish involving U.S. Marines and Iraqi forces in the area seemed to understate the damage done here. A French television reporter said it appeared the Iraqi troops had fled from substantial air and artillery fire. Tonight, the U.S. military says Allied forces attacked Iraqi troops on a tiny island off Kuwait. After small arms fire, the Iraqis surrendered. Bill Rediker, ABC News, Saudi Arabia.
Iraq, which may not want to divulge how much damage has been done, said today that only 90 of its troops were killed in the first 6 days of the war. Iraq also claimed for the second day that civilians are being killed. It did not provide numbers, it did show pictures. Here's ABC's Sheila McVicker.
These are the images the Iraqis released today, an attempt to counter the picture of a high-tech and bloodless war. Streets of rubble, bombed-out houses, a school destroyed. These pictures were taken by Iraqi television crews and cleared for transmission outside that country by Iraqi censors. The Iraqis say this is the northern city of Mosul 2 days ago. Intelligence sources say military targets there include an airbase and chemical and nuclear warfare facilities. This could be a factory lunchroom. But these pictures were said to have been taken in a residential part of Mosul. Rescue crews scrabbling through debris, wounded and dead carried away. A small child bloodied. Mosul is believed to be crowded with many people who have fled the bombing of Baghdad. The tapes give no indication of how many civilians died. In the town of Al-Dor, 120 miles north of Baghdad, the Iraqis say 172 homes were destroyed. There is no information on casualties. Iraqi television yesterday also continued to display a captured American airman.
My name is Jeffrey Norton Zahn.
The Navy lieutenant's interrogator is familiar as Saddam Hussein's official television spokesman. Zahn spoke haltingly, his voice flat. He was brought before a camera again in spite of strong protests from President Bush. Diplomats have said Saddam Hussein believes the anti-war movement in the United States will eventually force President Bush to stop fighting and seek peace. The Iraqi president may be releasing these pictures to try to add to that pressure. Sheila McVicker, ABC News, Amman.
2 more Patriot missiles were fired by mistake in Turkey today. This time it was Dutch troops at a NATO airbase in southeastern Turkey. Their computers told them the base was under attack. They destroyed the Patriots by remote control when they realized it was a false alarm. In a moment, trying to cut off the Republican Guard around the city of Basra. The Allies promised billions of dollars more to pay for the war effort. And Kent State University, what do they think of the war there?
What a feeling, feeling fresh. What a feeling, feeling close. Feeling new Fixodent fresh.
Introducing Fixodent Fresh with spring water freshness for a crisp, clean feeling. And it holds stronger than any other cream adhesive.
Feel it, feel it. Feeling new Fixodent fresh.
A fresh new feeling and stronger hold are 2 new reasons to Fixodent and forget it.
Feel it.
Ford profiles in quality, protecting your investment.
It's really upsetting when something chips the paint on your new car. So today, we're demonstrating a remarkable chip-resistant spray we now apply at the factory to the critical areas of all our American-built cars.
Half this test hood was sprayed with it, half was not. Look for yourself. You can see the difference.
When your goal is to build the highest quality cars and trucks in the world, you don't do it any other way.
At Ford Motor Company, quality is job one.
As Bill Rediker took note in our first report of the evening, the area around the Iraqi city of Basra, which took a terrible pounding during the war with Iran, is taking it again. American bombers were back for the 3rd day in a row. Our Pentagon correspondent, Bob Zelnick, on why the U.S. feels it is so important.
Pentagon officials say the U.S. is now conducting some of the heaviest bombing of the war. It is intended to isolate the Republican Guards, dug in and stationary around the city of Basra in southern Iraq. The U.S. wants to cut them off from their lines of supply from the north and prevent them from reinforcing Iraqi infantry further south. That way, the Guards would be of no help when the U.S. launches its intended ground campaign to encircle Iraqi troops in Kuwait. Military sources describe Basra as the headquarters for an entire corps of the Iraqi army. Other key Basra targets include power plants, oil storage facilities, and a pipeline carrying water to Iraqi troops in Kuwait. Military sources expect the bombing phase of Operation Desert Storm to last well into February and to end during a period of little or no moonlight when U.S. night fighting equipment will provide the biggest edge in a ground attack. Bob Zelnick, ABC News at the Pentagon.
Joining us this evening from Washington is our resident military analyst, Tony Cordesman. Tony Cordesman, if you will, Bob Zelnick gives us the broad strokes of a campaign there. Be more specific with the campaign against Basra.
Peter, I think it's fairly clear that we've entered a new phase of the war, and if we look at what's happening around Basra, There are literally hundreds of military targets, supply dumps, communications facilities, most of a corps, divisions, target after target that need to be hammered away at and destroyed. At the same time, we have to hit at the Republican Guards forces, which are over in this area, and at regular armored and mechanized divisions, which are located here, but also near Basra as well. This is the core of the new air campaign, striking at detailed target after detailed target. At the same time, things are changing dramatically on the ground. If we look at the changes that are taking place, we see the new formations that are building up. What we can see is a completely new set of criteria. Marine Corps forces building up here, 17,000 men that can launch amphibious strikes or helicopter strikes. Marine Corps forces over here, strengthened with tanks, so they have the power to punch through the forward lines and to reinforce or join with the other Marine Corps forces here. This Saudi line, the blue line, is probably withdrawing, getting ready so U.S. and British divisions over here can move forward when the ground attack begins. And finally, there are U.S., Egyptian, and French forces that are getting ready for that flanking attack that Bob Zelnick referred to.
Tony, now just in conclusion, answer me one brief question. We heard one of the pilots in Bill Rediker's piece saying they were allowed to pick their targets now. Does that mean pilots attacking that area are going to be on a longer leash than they have been before?
Much longer, and that's what we mean by air superiority. They can fly armed reconnaissance, choose their own targets, kill the most visible targets, and do the most damage.
Okay, Tony Cordesman in Washington on the changing shape of the campaign. We'll have more news in a moment.
LensCrafters made my state-of-the-art glasses in just under an hour, so I could see better and perform better fast.
LensCrafters puts the whole lab right in the store to custom craft your top-quality glasses in about an hour. Call LensCrafters at 1-800-522-LENS.
Did you know only 1-800 service is guaranteed? If a little slip keeps you from getting calls. Only AT&T automatically protects you with our 800 assurance policy. Now we can reroute your 800 calls faster than ever, in 30 minutes or less. 800 calls that get through. Another AT&T advantage.
Although the Subaru Legacy is just as durable as our older models, it's a lot more stylish. So you no longer have to own a Subaru 10 years before you think it's beautiful.
Eating the right foods can fill you with painful gas. That's why you may need Gas-X for fast gas pain relief. Relief antacids can't give you. So eat right and feel right with Gas-X.
Okay, listen up, people. It's Super Bucks weekend at Sears, and that means you decide what's on sale. Just grab the coupons from your newspaper for savings up to $50. So bring the coupons to Sears and let's shop!
The government of Japan said today it is going to triple its financial contribution to the war effort. The total will make Japan the largest contributor to the war effort other than Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, though the Japanese parliament may resist, as it has in the past. The U.S. continues to make a major effort to get the allies to pay a bigger share of the cost of the Gulf operation. Here's ABC's John McCarthy.
After being strongly criticized for not doing enough, Japanese Prime Minister Kaifu called President Bush to tell him that Japan was pledging $9 billion more to support the war effort. Japanese officials say their contribution represents 20% of the estimated $45 billion that they say it will cost to run the war for 3 months. Japan is not yet saying how it will pay. Earlier aid came mostly in the form of either loans or Japanese-made products ranging from television sets for the troops to trucks. Yesterday, Secretary Baker met with ambassadors from Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates. He presented each of those countries with new American requests for help, described as more than double the $12 billion they offered for last year. Germany's Chancellor Helmut Kohl says his country will be coming up with a new pledge as well. His promise comes at a time that Germany is being severely criticized for its attitude toward the Gulf crisis. The Germans have refused to say if they will come to the aid of Turkey if that NATO country is attacked by Iraq. In an interview on German television, the Prime Minister of Turkey, Turgut Özal, accused Germany of being so rich that it had forgotten its responsibilities to help defend a fellow NATO country from Saddam Hussein.
If he tries to use biological or chemical weapons, I always ask who gave them.
Yeah.
You are responsible.
Yeah.
Some German companies are responsible.
Just before the war began, Germany did dispatch 18 aircraft to Turkey as part of a three-nation NATO reinforcement. The only problem, the planes were old trainers without weapons. John McWethy, ABC News, the State Department.
The war in the Gulf has brought out the deep pacifist strain in Germany. Germany has had the largest anti-war demonstrations of any European nation. At the same time, Chancellor Kohl is promising to give more money to the alliance. Clearly, the Turkish president's comments do touch a nerve. ABC's Jim Bitterman is in Bonn.
Behind the facade of Germany's gingerbread towns, the Gulf War is creating worry and guilt. Germans are beginning to realize that more than anyone else in the West, their countrymen have helped Iraq build its deadliest weapons. The government now says 110 companies here are under investigation for breaking the embargo against Iraq, and it cannot rule out that despite the embargo and the war, companies may still be helping Baghdad. That's what Germany's allies and some Germans suspect. They've criticized the government for having done little to stop companies like this one from providing technology useful for making poison gas.
German industry, after all what happened, is still involved in exporting death to Jewish people.
There have been a few arrests. Company managers are thought to have been involved in assisting all sorts of Iraqi weapons programs, including the one to extend the range of Scud missiles. After Tuesday's Scud attack on Tel Aviv, Bonn promised Israel $160 million in aid, and the foreign minister flew there to express solidarity.
We are ashamed about the fact that Israelis are threatened with the assistance of German enterprise.
It is a measure of the unease here that the floats and plans for the celebration of the German Mardi Gras have been put away. Organizers felt it inappropriate. One German commentator said the Gulf crisis has shown his countrymen to be, quote, spoiled, cowardly, and mentally lazy. For the most part, Germany's allies are more diplomatic, only hoping that Germany will give them more support. Jim Bitterman, ABC News, Seligenstadt, Germany.
We'll have more news in just a moment.
Now you can ask Angela Lansbury about Bufferin.
Angela, for a tough headache, is Bufferin really strong aspirin?
Oh, my, yes. I've learned extra strength Bufferin has the strongest dose of aspirin you can buy, 1,000 milligrams.
Miss Lansbury, how can Bufferin be so strong if it has buffers?
I wondered myself, till I heard that the buffers don't weaken it. They just help prevent aspirin stomach upset. I depend on Bufferin.
Shouldn't you discover the strength of Bufferin?
Dale Earnhardt moves to the inside. Now he's diving into the pit. Let's go down to Bob.
Earnhardt's pulling in the pit. I'm going to try to get a word with him. Dale, why are you stopping at the GM dealership?
The fast or free guarantee.
Fast or free?
Yep, my GM dealer does a complete GM oil change and lube in 29 minutes or less, or the next one's free. Whoop, gotta go.
And Earnhardt's back in record time.
Your GM dealer's serious about putting service back in the service department, so try Mr. Goodwrench Quick Lube Plus for a change.
Hello. I'm sorry to bother you, but I'm having a dinner party and I've run out of coffee.
Come in.
Thank you.
Would Taster's Choice be too good for your guests?
Oh, I think they could get used to it.
Could they?
Yes.
Savor the sophisticated taste of Taster's Choice.
Have you met your new neighbor yet? Oh, I've popped in for coffee.
You know how you always complain about how I twist the phone cord into little knots while I talk?
Drives me crazy.
Well, this AT&T phone has great sound and it's cordless, so you'll have nothing to complain about.
There's always the phone bill.
Pain from just one sensitive tooth can start the domino effect. Pain can make you stop brushing, lead to plaque buildup, gingivitis, periodontal disease, even tooth loss.
Sensodyne toothpaste helps stop the pain and the domino effect.
And now the controversy about war at home. Conscientious objectors opposed to the war in the Gulf are getting symbolic support in the San Francisco Bay Area. The city of Oakland this week declared itself a sanctuary zone for war resistors, following the lead of Berkeley and San Francisco. Farther north in California, the city of Arcata also declared itself a sanctuary zone when the fighting began, which didn't please everybody in Arcata by any means. Here's ABC's Brian Rooney.
When the city council made Arcata a sanctuary for opponents of the war, it reflected the liberal politics of many people who live here. But thousands of other residents were furious at the council.
If they have any morals at all, they will all resign.
Irene Barney's son is a Marine in Saudi Arabia.
I feel like they personally have come against me and my son.
Many of the people who objected to the resolution say whether they are for the war or against it is their business, not the city council's. Because of the uproar, the city council called an emergency meeting last night. It rescinded the sanctuary resolution and apologized.
I apologize to all of you who heard our statement as a sign of disrespect for our troops in the Gulf, their families here at home, or the veterans that have gone before them.
But that did not settle the issue for about 1,000 residents who filled a meeting hall to capacity and spilled out into the street.
No retraction of this resolution can de-expose the true colors of this council, which they have exposed for all of us to see. And those colors are not red, white, and blue. They are a solid pink. How dare you call me anti-American because I stand for a higher order of being and that I support world peace?
They've embarrassed this community. They've embarrassed us nationally. They've embarrassed our troops overseas.
I feel violated and hurt and wounded that my country is bombing people for the oil corporation's profits.
There's a war of opinions in Arcata. City Council now says it will consider a new resolution about war in the Gulf at a later date. Brian Rooney, ABC News, Arcata, California.
From Northern California to Ohio, to Kent State University in Kent, Ohio. It became a symbol of the resistance to the war in Vietnam. We asked ABC's Chris Bury to go back to Kent State to see how the people there are reacting to this war.
USA! USA!
Once again at Kent State, students are demonstrating about U.S. involvement in a faraway war. But this time, the loudest chants support American policy.
Kent State is not a campus of civil delinquency, but of patriotism and pride in our country.
In May 1970, 4 Kent students were killed when National Guardsmen opened fire on anti-war demonstrators. Now a granite memorial marks the date. But the sentiment on campus today bears little resemblance to the reputation the school acquired during Vietnam.
People view Kent as the big liberal hotbed, but I don't really think that's true because we've seen quite a conservative swing, especially now with the war going on.
At the student newspaper, letters to the editor are running 3-1 in favor of the Gulf War.
Even the activists on campus who oppose the war say they still support American troops. In fact, they have joined with a group that backs the war to organize a blood drive for U.S. forces.
Anti-war slogans are crafted so as not to alienate American troops, a lesson these protesters say they learned from Vietnam.
We are adamantly against foreign policy, U.S. foreign policy, and that is clearly distinct from supporting the troops.
Most students here were not yet born when the shootings put Kent State on the map. Many resent the image that has stuck to their school. They want to be seen as a new generation responding to a different war in their own way. Chris Bury, ABC News, Kent, Ohio.
We'll have more news in a moment.
Get away from it all in the new Explorer from Ford. If you're looking for 4 doors and more interior room than any vehicle in its class, if you want 4-liter power and push-button 4-wheel drive in the best-selling vehicle in its class, if the only thing you want to leave behind is the city, your Explorer is ready.
Have you driven a Ford lately?
You know, you get so much more out of cold mornings when you've got energy. That's why I eat grape nuts. And I found a great new way to make it hot. Just pour your grape nut cereal, add milk, and microwave it for 1 minute. You've got this warm, hearty taste that feels so good, and a natural energy source to help keep you going. So, even if it's a cold morning, hot grape nuts helps make it a good one. Try it yourself.
Hot or cold, breakfast with Post Grape Nuts helps keep you going strong all morning long.
This is the sound of Unisom, the sound of sleep. With Unisom, you hit your pillow and fall asleep fast. Tonight, you can sleep more soundly with Unisom, America's #1 sleep aid.
Bengay welcomes back all those people who tried one of those other pain relief rubs, but found for them nothing works better than Bengay. It warms away pain with 2 pain relievers, not just 1. Welcome back to Bengay, America's best-selling pain relief rub.
Other news of other trouble. The new Soviet Foreign Minister Alexander Besmertnik will be back in Washington this weekend. Before taking his new job as Foreign Minister last week, Mr. Besmertnik was the ambassador to the U.S. On Saturday, he will meet with the Secretary of State Jim Baker, and he is bound to hear a formal protest about the Soviet clampdown in Latvia and Lithuania. Soviet policy towards the Baltic republics was high on President Bush's agenda today. At the White House, ABC's Britt Hume.
The president sat down with Republican congressional leaders to discuss next week's State of the Union address, but much of the talk was of the state of the Soviet Union in light of its violent repression of the Baltics. The political pressure is on to cancel next month's planned Moscow summit.
Soviets cannot crush the freedom of the people and at the same time seek to benefit from their relationship with the United States, which was based on a change in policy in the Soviet Union.
House GOP leader Michael quoted the president as saying he had protested to Mikhail Gorbachev.
He says he has, I know Gorbachev has the message, in his words. We don't want to overreact. However, statements by the Congress are very helpful.
There was just such a statement today in the Senate.
The president should review economic benefits provided to the Soviet Union in light of the crisis in the Baltic states.
Mr. Graham of Florida, aye. That resolution, which passed the House yesterday, went through the Senate unanimously today. And U.S. Ambassador Jack Matlock today delivered to Soviet leader Gorbachev a letter of protest on the Baltics from President Bush. Its exact contents were not disclosed. Officially, next month's summit hasn't been called off, but informed officials here expect it will be. The White House feels it has little other leverage with the Soviets, especially on economic aid. As one official put it, we've been criticized for not giving them much, and we haven't. So we don't have anything to take back. Britt Hume, ABC News, the White House.
On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrials gained 24 points to close at 2643, and the trading was heavy. The government says today that AIDS has become the second leading killer of young men in the United States, second only to injuries. In 1989, AIDS killed more men ages 25 to 44 than heart disease, cancer, or suicide. When we continue with our expanded edition of World News Tonight, a Navy pilot makes his first combat flight. Iraq uses bunkers and decoys to elude the bombers. And what they're saying about the war from Memphis to St. Louis.
Tonight, Sam Donaldson talks exclusively with the man directing the biggest bombardment in the history of war. Go inside a tank as Diane Sawyer shows what a ground war would be like, and see a side of Saddam you've never...
And now, the news continues with Channel 2 News at 6.
Good evening, I'm Cindy Benson.
And I'm Bob Mueller. In our news tonight, cronies of a local gambler, including judges and politicians, may be nervous